강 4번.
If you suffer from social angst, awkwardness, or dread, know that this is a perfectly normal response. No matter what it looks like, a lot of people are dealing with internal anxiety in social situations, but it is actually possible to build your social muscle and use it to boost your connections. And your anxiety is giving you clues to what icebreakers and lifelines other people might be grateful for you to extend. Truly listen to what your anxiety is signaling to you about where you feel uncertain or insecure, and practice empathy by offering a hand to others who might be in the same boat. Remember that flipping anxiety into compassion is something inherent in you. It is, in fact, what your anxiety was designed to do for you. Together, compassion and empathy can buffer against bad anxiety. You can use your anxiety to be more outward-facing. The outcome? The spread of compassion for your fellow human beings, other species, and the planet.
강 4번.
Training and competition naturally speed the breath, which activates the sympathetic nervous system. In performance, this is acceptable because an athlete wants to produce adrenaline and compete and train in an aroused state. However, it is equally important for an athlete to learn how to mentally and physically downshift from the acute sympathetic activity experienced in sport, and outside of performance focus their attention on slow breathing to reduce the sympathetic activity and resolve the fight or flight state. In the Feinstein Institute's study, participants were able to use the pace of their breathing to activate specific regions of the brain. In a performance realm, this means athletes can use breathing pace to manage their state of arousal. During training and competition, the breathing rate increases with the introduction of adrenaline, and athletes must be able to control this to be able to adapt and recover. One way is to practice slower breathing protocols outside of training and competition.
6강 3번.
The reliance on the computer as a model for the operations of the human mind may well prove to be as limited as an earlier fascination with behaviorism. Psychologists have already begun to recognize the flaws of the mind as computer metaphor. Some have turned to cultural anthropology as a way of understanding the factors outside any particular individual's brain that help the individual make sense out of the world. Others, such as Jerome Bruner, one of the founders of cognitive psychology, find that the computer analogy carries with it an unfortunate shift from the construction of meaning to the processing of information. Bruner's reflections on the limits of the machine model lead him back to a humanistic emphasis on narrative and storytelling as essential ingredients in understanding human cognition, a fascinating intellectual journey that reveals both the power and the limits of computers as guides to the way we think.
6강 4번.
In the escape that reading literature provides through vicarious identification and comparison with other lives, places, and times, we activate our imagination, that uniquely human ability to explore an alternative set of ideas and experiences that are outside our present environment and that may not even be real, as opposed to perception that receives and processes information from the outside world, light, sound, shape, and finds meaning in it, a sunset, a symphony, a house. In imagination, the process is reversed. Translating the words we read into what they signify, we populate an inner world in which imagery is created from the memory. For example, we read house and picture a representation of a house from memory. It is our imagination, the complex interweaving of perception and memory that literature activates, releasing a latent creativity that pleases. The writer may provide the blueprint, but the reader builds literature's many rooms, and like any satisfying occupation, literature gratifies our imaginative and creative abilities.
11강 4번.
Many factors contribute to Americans' growing waistlines, but one observation in particular cannot be overlooked. The incidence of obesity has increased in parallel with increasing portion sizes. Consider this. Adults today consume an average of 300 more calories per day than they did in the year 1985. Is this just a coincidence, or do larger portion sizes have something to do with it? In almost every eating situation, we are now confronted by huge portions, which are perceived as normal or a great value. Americans have created the perception that large portion sizes are appropriate, creating an environment of portion distortion. We find portion distortions in restaurants, where the jumbo-sized portions are consistently 250% larger than the regular portions. We even find portion distortions in our homes, where the sizes of our bowls and glasses have steadily increased and where the surface area of the average dinner plate has increased 36% since 1960. Research shows that people unintentionally consume more calories when offered larger portions. Consuming larger portion sizes can contribute to positive energy balance, which over time leads to weight gain and ultimately can result in obesity.